Hello Year 3 and welcome to your final reading and grammar lesson of this half term. I bet some of you even forgot that we have a half term holiday next week because everything's a bit strange and we're all at home every week anyway. But you'll be very pleased to hear that next week is a holiday and there won't be any extra work set for you to do in this holiday, so you can really take the whole week off, enjoy yourselves, play, relax and do not do any work. Of course, if you're behind on your work and you have anything to catch up on, next week is a good time to do that. But if you're on top of your work and you finished everything, then you can take a very well-earned break. Since it's the last lesson, I don't think there's any point in us beginning anything new. And we've already finished Evie in the Jungle, we talked about our book preferences yesterday, so we've done a lot of work on reading. And I thought that a really good thing to do for the final lesson of this half term would be a little bit of a review of everything that we've learned. I like to do reviews because it helps me feel good about how much work I've already done in a period of time. So if we look back and actually think how much learning we've done, I think you'll be very proud of yourselves and the fact that you have actually learned so much new information. Even though you've been at home, even though you haven't been in school working, you have still been learning. So same as yesterday's lesson, if you're in the Jade or the Indigo group, you can watch this video, you can listen, but you don't need to do the task at the end of the video. That's for everybody else. If you're in the Jade and Indigo group and you don't feel this lesson is useful to you, or you have another lesson to do, then go off and do that. Everybody else, I'm going to come on to the date and the LI at the end of the lesson. We'll do the writing right at the end, because for the beginning I just want you to keep your pencil down and focus on me and what I'm explaining, because it's going to really help you for today's task. So let's have a look. Do you know where we can find information about everything that we have learnt this half term? There's somewhere that you can actually find all this information, and that doesn't mean you have to go through every single video and every single task. Actually, where you can find that information is called the Knowledge Organiser. Some of you will remember Knowledge Organisers because we've been sending them home every time we start or finish a new unit, so that you can see all of the learning that you're going to do, and it has a summary of the key words and basically what the plan was for that unit. So for this half term, there were two Knowledge Organisers for English. One of them was mainly about reading and one of them was mainly about grammar. So we're going to take a look at the grammar one, and the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to find it. Your parents might be able to help you find this, or your guardians, whoever it is at home helping you with the computer or with the phone, but you should be able to actually do this yourself. So let's have a look. This is the Grange School website. If you don't know how to get to the Grange School website, you should type in this web address in your search bar. It says www.grange.harrow.sch.uk. Then you should arrive at this homepage. When you see this homepage, you need to go to the top where it says Online Learning. Click on it and you will find this page that looks very similar. And what you actually need to do is make sure you go and find Year 3. So you should see over there's a little tab for Year 3. This is where your parents and guardians have been getting all of your tasks for each day. So they're all up here. You can see at the moment it just has the 21st of May stuff on there. And it's divided by week, so we have week 5 here, week 4 here, so we're going backwards, week 3, week 2, and then week 1 was the first week of this half term after the Easter holidays. If you go all the way to the bottom, you should see there's something called Grammar, Sentences and Structures Knowledge Organiser. So if I click on that, I can open it up. And we've actually looked at this before in a different lesson. We looked at the Knowledge Organiser, but I'm just going to read to you what it says so you can think about how does this relate to the learning that we've been doing. Due to the effects of quarantine on remote learning, so the fact that everyone's at home, we have decided to link our grammar learning more explicitly to our writing objectives in order that pupils have a chance to practice and consolidate new skills through home learning. So all the grammar that we've been learning this half term, you've been able to then actually use and apply in your writing. So when we've been learning about writing good sentences and what makes a good sentence, you have actually been able to write better sentences in your writing. Grammar lessons will cover language about language, ensuring students have a good understanding of the key words in the vocabulary section below. That they will need to explain the pieces of grammar used in pieces of writing. So, if we have a look at what are the different words that we actually need to learn. There's a whole vocabulary list here, which we're going to go through in a second, and there's some inquiry questions. So I want you to think in your head, would you be able to answer these questions? If you can answer these questions, then that means you've learned everything that you need to this half term. What makes a sentence? Have a think in your head. Do you know what makes a sentence? We did talk about it when we talked about clauses and phrases, and something to do with a verb and a subject. Hopefully you should remember. The second inquiry question is, what are the different parts of speech we use in English? So what are the different parts of speech? Do you know what a part of speech is? I think. Can you identify grammatical mistakes in writing? So anyone who did the task where they looked through my writing and gave me some feedback using grammatical terminology, that means you did that actual thing. You identified grammatical mistakes in writing. So if you were able to complete that task, you can say, yes, I can identify grammatical mistakes in writing. And the last question, how do you punctuate direct speech? So do you remember how to punctuate direct speech? We have done some practice on that too this half term. So those are the key questions, and then here are all the different things we've learned. Look how many pages that is. That's so many things we've learned this half term. What we're going to do today is I'm just going to review each of these different things, and as I'm going through, I want you to think in your head, does that make sense? Do you remember learning that? Do you feel confident about that? And if there's something that you're not confident about, I want you to write it down on a piece of paper. Okay, just a piece of plain paper, scrap paper. I'm going to use the back of this. So anything that when I say it, you think, actually, I'm not really sure about that. I want you to write it down, what it's called. We can pause the video and write it down. And that's going to be a little bit of a target for you of something to review in today's lesson. So, parts of speech word classes. That's the first thing. Do you know what parts of speech are? If you're not sure what they are, you might want to write it down. See, I know what parts of speech are, but I'm a bit confused about word class. So I'm going to write that down because I'm not sure. Nouns. Do you know what a noun is? What a noun does? Can you think of some nouns? Adjectives. Verbs. Adverbs. Preposition. Pronoun. Conjunction. Article. Now, article's a tricky one. We haven't actually talked too much about articles this half term. We have talked about them earlier in spring term, so I'm going to write that down for myself as something I need to review. Subject. Do you remember what a subject is? A phrase, a clause. And there's two types of clauses, independent clause or a main clause. It's got two names. And a subordinate clause or a dependent clause. So do you know what all of those are? If you're not sure of one of them, write it down. Sentence. Do you know what a sentence is? Inverted commas or speech marks, direct speech, prefix, root word, and suffix. Suffix we actually haven't learnt yet. We're going to be carrying that on in the beginning of next half term. So if you're not sure what a suffix is, then don't worry. So those are all the things we've learnt in grammar this half term. Hopefully you should have written one or two things down to revisit. In a second, I'm going to ask you to pause the video and go and revise the things that you don't know. So that means if you wrote down article because you weren't sure what an article was, the first thing you need to do is find this knowledge organiser, which as I showed you was on the Grange School website here, and read the definition of it and discuss it with a parent or guardian. Can you understand what it is? If you're not sure what it is, you need to do some research. There are a few ways you can do research. First of all, you know that we've been doing lessons on all of these topics so far. So what you can do is go back to the previous YouTube videos where I explained all of these things. So for example, if we go to YouTube now, and we can actually go to the Grange Primary School YouTube. Here's the Grange one. And if we have a look at Year 3, I go to View Full Playlist. You can see all the different videos that are related to Year 3. So if you are confused about something and you need to check, go through and have a look at any of the lessons that we've been learning on that topic. So I know, for example, that at the beginning of this half term we did a lot of stuff on direct speech. So if I scroll back to the 28th of April, here I can see it says direct speech with special guests. So I can actually go and rewatch this video which explains all about direct speech. And that's going to be my revision. So I'm relearning something that I'm not so sure on to make sure I really know it. So that's direct speech. You could also have a look for, if you're not sure about parts of speech, we could go back to where we had parts of speech, which was here, word classes. Oh, that's something I actually wrote down on my piece of paper, that I need to go back and visit word classes because I wasn't sure about that. So I can go back and watch this video which explains what word classes are. So it should be pretty easy for you to do your revision. Have a look at your list. What are the things you need to revise? Go away, revise them, make sure you know them. So this is your chance to catch up on anything you're confused about and relearn it. If you can't find the video or you're stuck about how to find the video, you could also ask Google. So if you're not sure and you've already looked at the knowledge organizer and you couldn't find, or maybe this explanation didn't make much sense to you, maybe you weren't sure what a noun was, you can go to Google and you can say, what is a noun? And I would normally put for kids because you are kids, so an explanation might help. And then you can click on the link that comes up and it has some examples of nouns and it tells you all about a noun. So I want you to do your own research and make sure you're really confident with all of the grammar things on this list. So pause the video now and go and do that. Hello, if you're back and you're watching this video, it means you already did your research on any of the topics that you were confused about, and hopefully you're a little bit more solid on your grammar knowledge. So you've done a bit of a recap, which means that you won't forget it all in half term, and hopefully the knowledge will stay in your head. For today's task, we're going to be completing a self-evaluation. So I'm going to show you what that means and how to do it in our example, but the first thing I want you to do is get a pencil and a piece of paper, and you're going to write the date and LI. So we're getting onto the task now. If you are in the Jade or Indigo group, you do not need to do this. Everybody else, pause the video to write the date, the 22nd of May 2020, and the LI, which is to consolidate grammar learning from this half of term. Okay, hopefully you've already written your date and LI. So here is the task. This is what it looks like. I'm going to show you how to do it if you don't have this worksheet printed out. If you do have the worksheet printed out, you're just going to circle whichever answer most applies to you. It says, complete the self-evaluation below about your confidence with grammar knowledge. Either circle the answer that you feel is correct for you or write it down on a separate piece of paper. Okay, and the title is How I Feel About These Grammar Topics. So you can see there's 12 grammar topics here that are the most important ones. And for each one, it says the name of the grammar topic and then it has 4 options. No idea, a little confused, confident, or expert. So no idea means if you look at this word, you literally would have no idea. You've never seen it before. You're thinking, we've never even learned that. So if you feel that way, if you see nouns and you're like, I have no idea what that is, you should write no idea. If you see nouns and you kind of know what it is, you have a vague idea, but maybe you're a little bit confused or you don't feel confident about it because there's something that doesn't quite add up in your head, then you can write a little confused. If you see nouns and you think, yes, I know what a noun is, I could explain it, or I could give an example of a noun, then you put confident. And if you know what nouns is and you think, you know what, I know nouns so well that I could actually be a teacher. I could be a teacher of nouns. That's how good I am at nouns. Then I want you to put expert. If you have it printed out, you can just circle. So if you, for example, if you think you're confident in nouns, you can just circle this answer here. If you don't have a piece of paper, all you need to do, I'm going to do this in my red pen, is write the number and the name of the topic, and then put your answer. So if you think you're confident, you just write confident, and then you move on to number 2. It's a very simple task, and it's going to be really important for me as your teacher if I can see which topics you know or which topics you're confused on. So please make sure that once you've done the self-evaluation, you ask your mum or dad or guardian to take a picture of your work and send it to me, so that I know for next half term which topics we might need to go over or which topics you might need help with, and which topics that we can say, you know what, year 3 know this, we're ready to move on. So I'm going to, in a second, put a picture of this list up on the screen so you can pause the video and copy it down, or you can go to your worksheet and have a go. Well done for all your hard work this half term. You have been a fantastic year group, and I'm so proud of you all for continuing with your learning at home. And I will see you on the other side of the half term. Bye. Pause the video now to complete these self-evaluation questions.